In 945 AD, Prince Igor of Kiev spent his days traveling through neighboring territories, collecting tributes to fund his empire. When he decided the nearby Drevlian tribe wasn't paying enough, he marched directly into their lands to extort them for more. The Drevlians had finally reached their breaking point. They ambushed Igor, tied his legs to two bent birch trees, and let the trees go. The immense force of the trunks snapping back into their natural positions ripped the prince entirely in half. This map shows the borders of the Kievan Rus and Drevlian territories. Igor's death left his widow, Princess Olga, in total control. The Drevlian prince dispatched 20 elite diplomats to Kiev, intending to absorb her entire territory without fighting a single battle. Instead of rejecting the proposal and sparking an immediate war, Olga smiled and accepted. She recognized that the Drevlians felt secure in their position of power, and she began a campaign of psychological warfare designed to weaponize their own arrogance against them. Olga told the diplomats to return to their boats for the night. She flattered them, insisting that to show them the highest royal honor, her own citizens would physically carry them into the city inside their vessels the following morning. The men rode proudly in their boats as they were paraded through the streets. But overnight, Olga had ordered her soldiers to dig a massive, deep trench right in the middle of her courtyard. When the procession arrived, her men simply tipped the boats directly into the pit. As the diplomats looked up in terror, Olga stood at the pit's edge and calmly ordered her soldiers to grab their shovels. She watched without a hint of mercy as dirt was poured over their screaming faces until they were completely buried alive. With the first 20 men dead, she escalated the trap. She sent a messenger back to the Drevlian prince, reiterating her acceptance of the marriage, but insisting he send his highest-ranking nobles to formally escort her on the journey. The prince eagerly agreed and dispatched his most important leaders. When this second group arrived in Kiev, exhausted from the trip, Olga greeted them with a performed politeness, suggesting they visit the local bathhouse to wash up before a royal feast. The nobles stripped down and entered the baths. The exact moment they were inside, Olga's guards barred the heavy wooden doors from the outside and ignited the entire structure, burning everyone inside alive. By catering to their sense of entitlement and providing the illusion of expected hospitality, Olga successfully eradicated the Drevlian political and military elite without ever leaving her own courtyard. Moving to the offensive, Olga took a small contingent of her soldiers directly into Drevlian territory. She arrived at their capital and announced her intent to host a massive funeral feast to honor her late husband before the wedding could take place. Because Olga had isolated and killed their leadership, the general population had no idea their best men were dead. 5,000 Drevlians eagerly attended the feast, where Olga provided an endless supply of mead until the entire crowd was completely incapacitated. Once the attendees were blackout drunk, Olga gave the signal. Her waiting soldiers drew their swords and slaughtered all 5,000 people in a single night. The last remaining obstacle was a heavily fortified Drevlian city. Olga laid siege to it for a full year, but the walls held firm against every conventional military assault her army attempted. Changing tactics, she offered the desperate defenders a peace treaty. She told them she was tired of the stalemate and would lift the siege for a bizarrely small tribute: 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows collected from every single house. Relieved, the Drevlians happily handed over the birds. That evening, soldiers tied sulfur-soaked cloths to the birds' legs, set them on fire, and released them into the dark sky. The terrified animals naturally flew straight back to their nests tucked inside the thatched roofs of the Drevlian city. The dry straw caught immediately, and within minutes the entire settlement was completely engulfed in an inescapable inferno. By exploiting the defenders' desperate desire for peace and weaponizing the wildlife living inside their own walls, Olga engineered the calculated destruction of their stronghold. As the residents attempted to flee the flames, Olga's army stood waiting right outside the gates. They systematically captured, enslaved, or killed every person who made it out of the fire. This final, brutal sweep left nothing behind. Olga's campaign resulted in the complete erasure of the Drevlian civilization. The scale of these events reveals a campaign of asymmetric statecraft, where personal mourning was replaced by meticulous, multi-stage planning. Olga executed this extreme violence to achieve total geopolitical deterrence. By entirely annihilating the Drevlians, she sent a clear, undeniable warning to every surrounding tribe and rival kingdom that challenging Kiev would result in permanent ruin. Her enemies looked at an isolated widow and expected a swift surrender. Instead, Olga turned that perceived weakness into a political weapon, permanently securing the borders of her empire and solidifying her undisputed rule.